Hi, everyone. It's Alyssa, and today I wanted to talk about the movie The Quiet Girl, which is directed by Colm Bairead, and it stars Carrie Crowley as Evelyn, and Andrew Bennett as Sean, and then Catherine Clinch as Kate. So this is an Irish movie that was nominated for Best International Feature, and I just saw it. I happened to buy it, but it's also on Hulu right now for free, which is why I thought it was such a great movie to talk about right now. So I'm going to do a review of the movie, but then at the end, I want to talk about why I feel like The Quiet Girl would make such a good addition to the Criterion Collection, because there's always those movies that I feel like we come across and we see and we immediately think, like, why is this not part of the Criterion Collection? And so that's kind of how I felt when I saw this movie yesterday. So the film is about this 9-year-old girl who's going to stay with, I guess they're like distant relatives that she's never met before. It seemed like cousins of cousins. And she's going to stay there for the summer because her mom is pregnant. Her dad has a lot going on. He's a gambler. He does not seem like a very, like, the best guy. And I'll get a little bit more into that later. But it's just too expensive. They have too many kids. And so she's going to stay there in the summer. And I was actually reading something from the director, and he said this, because the movie takes place in 1981, this would actually be pretty common. And so that's why he wanted the movie to take place in 1981, because it wouldn't be so common today. But back then, you would have children that would kind of leave for a few months and then come back so that people could save money, or maybe they couldn't afford having all of the children together. But this girl is so neglected. This girl, Kate, she's 9 years old. She's so quiet, just like the title is suggesting. And she's just constantly observing everyone. So when she gets to this house and she meets these two people, Evelyn and Sean, I also want to say, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, because this movie is mainly in Irish, and some of the names I'm not familiar with. So I tried with the pronunciation, looking it up before I started. So I hope I'm doing okay. I know I'm messing it up, so please forgive me. But anyway, when she meets these two people who are middle aged, they're a little bit older, she's still very reticent. She's not sure. But as time goes on, you see them getting closer and closer together and seeming more and more like a family. But amidst all of this, she kind of discovers a secret, which I will not say, about the family, and it makes her see them in a little bit of a different way. I will say the secret, you probably could figure it out, only because the movie is rated PG-13, and it's rated PG-13 for smoking. So there's only so many options for what the secret actually would be. But it doesn't really matter in this film what the secret is, because it's all about the connections between the characters and that need for family. And when the story starts off, the middle-aged woman, Evelyn, she is much more open to taking care of Kate, and she really brings her right in and takes care of her. Whereas the guy, her husband, Sean, he's a little bit more reticent. And it's so beautiful to see how the relationships between each of the characters changes so much in the film. And it's all because she shows up. But you can see the movie is so much about learning how people are supposed to love each other. And it's a very sweet film, and there are some things that are brought up. But what I love about this film, and some of the things that really works, are in the writing, where the writing implies a lot. So the writing is implying things about the father, definitely based on the way Kate responds to certain things in the story, but nothing is ever actually said out loud, like, this is what's going on. You just sort of pick it up in terms of the behavior of the characters, how they look at each other, how they respond to each other. So I really loved this subtlety of the writing. This is Colm's first movie that he's ever made, and it is so well made and it's very well written, and he's a co-writer on it as well. I believe he won for the Irish Academy Awards. He won the Best Up and Comer, and the girl in the movie. So to talk about the acting, the girl who plays Kate is phenomenal. She also won Best Actress, and she's only like 9 or 10 years old, for the equivalent of the Irish Academy Awards. And so everything this girl does is so just in her face. It's a very silent performance. She speaks in the movie. She's not, a mute character, but she really only speaks when she feels like she should. And she is so much of an observer, and she observes the way the husband and wife interact with each other, and she sees what love actually can look like for the first time ever, and what it means like to respect another person, and the way that they treat her. They actually pay attention to her, and you see her in the house in the beginning and she's just never paid attention to. And this performance is just like, it's beyond what you think a kid would be able to do, because there is so much going on in her internally in the performance, and it's just so beautiful to see that. And I'm very excited to see what Catherine Clinch does in the future, but also, I mean, all of the performances. So Carrie Crowley, who's playing Evelyn, she is so nurturing, so kind, but there's always this sense of pain on her face, which definitely comes back into what the story is about. And seeing the husband Sean grow throughout, it was all really beautiful. The cinematography in this movie is gorgeous. There's this little like a pathway with all of the trees that are on the farm that they're all living at, and I just, every 2 seconds I was like, can we go back to that spot, because it was just so gorgeous. I will say, where I can see some people not liking this movie, or they would think it was too slow, because it is a very slow paced story. It's not super stylized or anything like that. You're just really feeling what their lives feel like. It's like you have one night where they're playing cards and they have friends over, and it's just a lot of, like normal activities. And it's not a super plot driven story. And I like that because it allows it to be such a character driven story. But I can see, if you are the kind of person who needs a movie to just like keep going, and you don't really want to stick with, just seeing mainly the perspective of this 9-year-old girl and how she's perceiving the world or misperceiving the world, that then you might think this is too slow for you, and that's okay. I don't think it's going to be one of those movies where every single person loves it, but if you go into it knowing that it's going to be slower, but it's not a very long movie. It was a little over an hour and a half. I personally didn't feel like there were scenes that were dragging. I felt like everything played into how these dynamics with these three characters were actually working. And when you get to the end of this movie, it will get you. Like, I cannot stop thinking about the ending. I will just say this, it's incredibly emotional, and it really leaves you feeling a certain way at the end of the movie. So if you have not seen The Quiet Girl, and I feel like it was one of those movies, yes, it was nominated for Best International Feature for the Academy Awards, but All Quiet on the Western Front, that took over everything. And that was a great movie, but that's a big movie. And that's a movie that has a huge budget. This is so much more of a character driven movie. It's the first time a movie that is actually in the Irish language is nominated for Best Picture. So in that respect, it was just really beautiful to listen to the Irish language. That's not something that I hear like ever. And there's a bit of English in the movie, but I would say it's about, 90% ish is in the Irish language. And it was just really beautiful to hear it. It was beautiful to see the country. The even just like the locations are really beautiful, and the house. And it was funny because when I was reading this one article from the director and he was talking about why it was in 1981, but he was talking about how everything looks 15 years like in the past in Ireland. And so the house actually looks more like it's from the 60s or the 70s with the decoration and everything. And it was so funny because when I was reading that, it just brought me back to when I lived in England in 2003. And it really did, like, everything did feel like it was kind of from the 80s when I was there. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that, like, I loved it. Like, I loved it so, so much. So you get, such a distinctive atmosphere here. And in a sense, it feels timeless because even though it's 1981, there's not really a lot, that's placing a specific time in the story. So, uh, I will end it there in terms of the review, but why I think this movie needs to be part of the Criterion Collection is because I just saw Petite Maman and I thought that was just so beautiful. And I will say they're not even close to the same story. It's just international stories with children in them. But I've been noticing that Criterion more and more has been doing more recent international films. So, between Triangle of Sadness and Petite Maman and Drive My Car, like, they seem to be getting a lot of movies, even Roma, that are like these Academy Award nominated movies that are coming out like from this year. And then they're putting them out and they're making them more available to a wider audience. And I feel like this movie is so quiet and slow and sweet and so fundamentally about love and different types of love and just the importance of feeling like you're part of a family. And even if that's not your biological family, it doesn't matter. It's just like your family and feeling like you're part of something. And it's the kind of sweet movie that I find every now and then on Criterion where I'm just like, why didn't I know this existed? Or just so happy to see it. So to me, this is one of those wish lists, and I definitely have a few movies in my head where I would say, like, oh, I just wish they would be able to get the rights to this movie. And so in this case, I just so wish that they got the rights to A Quiet Girl because I would love also the special features on this. I would love to hear more from Colm Bairead on what inspired the film and how they put it together, and even things like just the distribution of this film, because it seems like it came out in Europe much earlier than it did here in America. So it's just one of those films that is so beautiful, and it's all about the small moments. Like, there's just even one moment with a cookie or a biscuit that is so meaningful in the story. And I feel like that's what Criterion is. There can be very, heavy, depressing movies, but they have a lot of movies that are about small moments and the reality of life or seeing things from a child's perspective. And it would just fit into, I don't know, this brand that they have created. So I just wanted to say that I would really highly recommend this film. If you haven't seen it, once again, you can watch it right now on Hulu if you have Hulu. And I had bought it from Amazon Prime during the Prime Day. They had like a deal on the movie. So it was, I think, $5 or something to buy it. And I'm so glad that I bought it and own this film because it's a beautiful film, and it's something that already, even though it's a very simple film, I'm finding myself thinking about very specific scenes. And I just saw it yesterday, and it's like that feeling when you can't get a movie out of your head. That's always such a nice feeling. So if you've seen this, please let me know what you thought. I'm thinking not that many people have seen this film yet. But if you have any types of movies that you think should be part of the Criterion Collection, but it's not part of the Criterion Collection, please let me know in the comments. And if you want more videos like this, where even I go back to older films that I think actually should be part of the Criterion Collection, I would love to do that as well, because I already kind of have a list of movies in my head. So that could be something that would be fun. So thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like the video, please hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please think about doing that. And I appreciate y'all for watching. Thank you so much. Bye.